Hey guys, it's Matt here from Henry Shine. Just doing a quick video overview showing you everything that, from what I've heard, you wanted to start to print in-house. I'll take you through a workflow for surgical guide, doing splint design, as well as creating a model to do a suck down on, as well as an ortho model as well. So this gives you a brief overview of all the design softwares, free and paid, as well as how the 3D printer works. So this first workflow I'm just going to take you through is the splint design. So first things first, you can import your design or your scan into here. If you've already got 3Shape software, then you just add on the splint module like what this one is here. And you can then start to plot out your points. So the contact point here, there, and here. So there are your 3 points, and then we go next. So let's just bring in the articulator. So from here, we're going to open up our bite. So if we wanted to open it up to 1.6, let's just leave this. So we're opening it up. Let's go a little bit, yeah, about there. So we can hit lock and it will lock it into place. So once that's locked into place, you can go next. So this is the blocking out. So I find that this is a pretty good amount right here where you get a nice clip in for a splint. You can change your path of insertion by resetting that there. But from me, I'm pretty happy with that. Next, you can sculpt any of this wax as well and eliminate any if you wanted to, or you can add some wax in to make a little bit more retention. So the next step there is us drawing the outline of this. So to give you an idea, I'll just redraw that outline. So left click of your mouse and you can see how easy it is. If there was a certain area that you're looking at going, oh, it wasn't even, you can come back and redo it. Once again, we're going to drop down on our canine and then come down around here. So once we get to this point, I'm just going to start to draw it. Now you can obviously design this whatever thickness that you like. And it's going to join up. So once it's joined up, if you wanted to refine any areas, you can go back and draw it. It's pretty easy. So just like that. So if you're happy with your splint at this point in time, so you can see here, splint thickness 2 mil, minimum thickness 1.5, offset from teeth, drill diameter 0, because we're going to be 3D printing. So from here, now if I clear all this away, it's going to give you the options of raise to antagonist cusp tips, raise ramp. So how I like to do it, left click and pull up to about there, flat, left click, pull down there, and let's give them a raise ramp over the anteriors. Next. And now this is going to start to calculate the splint. You can see down here, it's creating a splint for us right now. So this articulator at this point in time has closed, so we can adjust it and make it open as well. And then you can see guide by incisal table, guide by design. So you can change reset to default. So it's going to reset to default as well, whatever that is. And you can see right now, so I started to work out what are the areas that need to be trimmed away here. So once you're happy with that, we can hit play and it's going to trim away certain areas for us on our splint. There we go. And you can see that's all trimmed up. So if I take away this articulator, the next step that we can do now is we can accept that there's some areas slightly thinner, but it's not going to hurt us. Adjust the size of this and we can start to smooth off areas of our splint design. After we've designed this, you can then you can run the articulator again if you wanted to. So you can hit play. It'll adjust it one more time for what we just changed it to, and we can hit adapt settings once again. So that is pretty much well articulated, ready to go. So we could print that right now. If there's some areas that you wanted to smooth off, you could go over some areas here and adjust it. But overall, that's pretty much well Splint done, except after that's done, the last thing to do is to save it to whatever folder that you wanted to save it to. So we're going to save this particular one. Browse, okay, and we're going to save this to desktop, and we're going to save this to demo cases. Going to create a new folder, and we're going to call this print demo. Cool. Select folder. So that's our Splint saved. So that gives you an idea of how quick and easy it is to design a Splint on 3Shape software. So that's one. So next one is if you wanted to create a surgical guide. Now, never mind about my Splint there, because obviously you could draw it a little bit neater than what I have. Surgical guide. If you did want to do a surgical guide, you can once again design it within 3Shape. So if we were to go new case, what I'm going to do in-house, I'm not going to bother scanning this one. I'm just going to import in the scan so that you can see, because I believe you've already got the scanner there. So it's desktop, dental system, implant, studio orders, scans, and we'll go, this one is upper jaw, lower jaw, and okay, perfect. So now we can go through to planning. And let's go 3.6, and we can go implant planning. There we go, and we're also on that tooth going to say virtual implant crown. So we can just give us an idea about our prosthetically driven implant design that we're about to create a guide for. So after that's done, let's bring in our cone beam, CT. Select. So there's our cone beam, and we can go next. At this next step right now, you can remove a tooth by hitting plus and then drawing around the margin line of that tooth. But I'm not going to remove a tooth, we're just going to add a tooth in. So we're going to preset it, place 2.6. There's a tooth. So this is just for prosthetically driven implant placement. It's not going to create us a crown at this point in time. This is just to give us a guide as to where we want to place the implant. Oh, you've always got the regret button. Okay, so that tooth is in the rough position that I'm happy with. It's going to give us a good guide as to our screw channel where it's going to be coming out. Next, and now cropping, so we can crop the CT to eliminate certain areas of the scan that we don't want. So you can see we've got lower, upper, so if you wanted to trim some of the upper up, we can take it away. Once again, we can take a little bit more off, and you can crop certain areas down so that the size of the scan is a lot smaller. So there we go, so that's cropped. Now we can start to do our panoramic plane or panoramic curve. So by adjusting this plane here, the axial view, running roughly where we think where the nerves are going to be going through. So I'll just adjust that up a little bit. So right now it's going to start to adjust this panoramic curve. So I'm just going to place this about here. I think that's going to be pretty good for us. And now we can start to place our implant. So you can see every view on here is relating to every line. So dark blue here, dark blue axial view, orthogonal view, and tangential view. So as I pull this along, you can see how we've got correlating yellow, yellow, light blue, dark blue, as to all of our different planes. So you can see as it follows here, you can see the opening for the nerve. So now it's going to merge the cone beam with our intraoral scan. If we're happy with that, we can confirm. 99% of the time it will merge. And from here, we can start to, as it says, nerve definition, left-hand side. So it wants us to start plotting out this nerve. So I'm going to pull this about to there until I see the nerve opening. Zoom in and start to plot out our nerve. Now you can scroll through here and start to plot the nerve out this way. Or you can scroll through this way and start to plot the nerve out this way as well. So try and get the nerve at its largest opening. And that's most probably all I need. If you wanted to scroll through, you can scroll through to make sure you're happy with exactly where the nerve is in comparison to what you've plotted out. If you wanted to give yourself a little bit of a buffer, as you can see, maybe there's an area here where I just wanted to adjust it, I can just scroll it up and make it a little bit larger to give myself a little bit more of a buffer so that you know that you're a little bit safer, you're going to be in the safe zone. After that's done, next, we're going to choose our implant, place it, and then create our surgical guide. Now we hit plus on the tooth, choose whatever implant that we wanted to use. So many different ones here, depending on exactly one you wanted. Let's just go 10.5 by Horizon implant. And we're also going to choose a fully guided sleeve for today. And you can see now it's started to place the implant there. Now, if you can see that that sleeve is actually gold in color, that means that it's hitting on the tissue. And you can see it hitting on the tissue right there. So what we've got the ability on the by Horizon, we can adjust that up so that it's clearing. And then if you really wanted to, you could move your implant down a little bit further if you needed to. Now, after this is done, depending on obviously where your positioning is and whatnot, you can see that we're positioning here in the tooth, here, and you can also use this view here to make sure that you're happy with the position of this. After you're happy with the position and you wanted to go forward with the next step, we just go next, and this is where we draw our guide. So surgical guide creation, hit plus, and we're going to just create, I'm just going to do a quadrant guide. I'm not going to do a full around the arch because this is just to show you guys what's possible. So now that's going to start to create our guide. There we go. If you wanted to add any bars after this is created, you can go bars and windows. You can add in a viewing window to make sure it's seated correctly. So bars and windows. So let's just add in 2 viewing windows, one here and another viewing window there to make sure it's seated correctly. And if you wanted to add in any, let's say a support bar to give yourself a little bit of retraction for the cheek, you can pull that out so that there is, you could also do that for the tongue area as well if you wanted to. And if you did want to create some irrigation, you can do that down here. Alright, done, preview. So that's our surgical guide done. If you wanted to add a little bit of strength there, you could as well. Add in another little support bar. So you know what, let's do it. Round support bar. Preview. And that, my friends, is a surgical guide done. So after that is all complete, you have to tick off on the tick off on it. So you can go in and go next. ID tag if you wanted to put an ID tag. So we've got approved planning. and we've got to approve surgical guide. So I'll do both of those, and then obviously we'll print off, I will obviously have the guide created then. Okay, saving and approve surgical guide as well. And from here we can go next. Creating cam output. Now for us, we're going to go open folder, and this is our surgical guide. I'm just going to put it into desktop in with this print demo. No, not print demo. Sorry, it was print demo. That's our splint. So let's just delete this one here. And let's just delete that and copy this back to this page, paste, and delete that. So they're the two, surgical guide and splint right now, ready to go. Now, the next question that you asked was, you wanted to do retainers, suck downs. So to give you an idea, using this one that I did there on my own mouth, I'll show you. So if we go right click, export scans, I'm going to save them once again to here, print demo. I'm going to change it to STL, and let's call them scan to model. So from here we can then go into here. We'll bring them up again. So scan a model, so you can see how we've got upper, lower, and whatnot. So let's say upper initially. We're going to open it with a free program called Meshmixer. And Meshmixer allows you to create just a model that if you wanted to print one out for free, you can see it's put my mouth there, and I'm just going to print preferences. I'm going to make none visible. Done. So you can see now there's my jaw or my scan. I can go edit, transform. So I'm just going to pull this up, transform it so it's nice and flat to where I want it to be. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go accept. So I'm happy with how that's sitting. So the next step is select it. So double click. I've done a bit of trimming on this already. So I haven't had to do any trimming here, but you can if you wanted to do some trimming on here by selecting only certain areas and trimming. So, but right now we wanted to select, and we're going to go extrude. Extrude is going to allow us to start to create a base. So you can see it's starting to highlight, and we can change the offset on here. And I find generally the offset, something like about that, is going to be fine. We're going to change it from constant to Y, and we're going to make it flat. So all of a sudden now we've got a base model that is pretty close to be able to 3D print. I'm going to do a few things first. So I'm going to first make it solid. Making it solid, I'm going to increase the accuracy, mesh density, and I'm going to make it accurate. Update. This now makes it a solid object rather than just an outer shell. And obviously printing a solid object is going to be considerably for yourself dearer to print, because obviously there's a lot more resin involved in doing that. So what I'm going to do from here is we're going to hollow it out after that within Meshmixer. So right now, if we go accept, this is now going to be a solid model for us, and you can see it's nice and accurate. So the next step along is we want to save on some resin, so we're going to make this hollow. So we're going to go hollow. Once again, you might halve the price of your printing costs by making it hollow. I'm going to change the distance, the offset distance to, we'll go 3.28 mil thick, update hollow, and after that's updated, we'll just hit accept, and then we'll do a plane cut and cut the bottom of the model off to save ourselves some more resin as well. and we're just going to go accept now. Once we hit accept, we now have a hollow model. So now we're going to use plane cut. What plane cut does is it allows us to, if you wanted to do a mouth guard on this, well then we can bring this down, and then you could do a suck down on this for a mouth guard. So if I hit minimal fill and accept, so that is now good to go for a mouth guard. If you wanted to do it a different way to what I did it just there, and you could just pull it down and you could print off obviously the whole palette as well. Now certain areas, let's say if you wanted to smooth this off, you can go up to sculpt, brushes, go down to robust smooth, strength will bring it high, size will bring that down lower. So you can smooth that off. Let's say if you do have anyone that is a younger child that's say wanting to get a mouth guard, but you can see that the tooth is going to be moving, you can then use this brush, or you can inflate in a certain area and you can actually so let's just go inflate, and let's increase the size of this a little bit. So let's say for bleaching trays, you wanted to add some material on for bleaching trays, you can actually paint in a section like so and create a section for bleaching material to be sitting inside of. So that's how you do that. Likewise, you can build up a tooth or you know, allow for eruption of teeth. So if you wanted to, you can export. STL binary is what you want to choose, and we'll just download that and save it to right next to print demo. And this is upper hollow print. Save. So that's done. You can do exactly the same to the lower, and then that's good to go to print out. So right now you can see we've got upper hollow print, surgical guide. This one I'm going to rename to be Splint print. So these are the three I'm going to print out. Now, if you wanted to do an ortho model, rather than just a model like that, you'd have to purchase some software. But let's say you'd create a person, so you can go new patient, this patient here. I can then go right click, new model set, create. Okay, hold on, we'll just call it this name. So create. So this is it here. Now we can go to prepare model set. We can maxillary model. You can add in, now on this one, I'll choose, oh, not that. Where is it? Desktop, demo cases, print demo. So let's say for us, we're going to go scan model upper, and this is for the maxillary. Scan model lower for the mandibular, load. So to do an ortho model, this is going to create it solid. So set landmark 1.6. Okay, so that's our plane. Yes. And now we can cut, start to use this trimming tool to start to trim and create a study model for ourselves. So study model created, and let's just move that just up above there. So that's the outline for the upper. We're going to do that for the lower. Okay, now we're going to fit a base. So now I'm not overly concerned about the height of this at this point in time, because I'm planning on hollowing this out. So just getting the position right here, and then you can adjust all the angles. Now you can choose if you want any of these particular kinds of bases, but this is just a full study model, which is, I presume, also what you wanted to be able to print as well. So if I go next, it's going to create my study model. So that's our study models created. So we can now go next. I'm not going to do any trimming on here. Now, never mind about my large height. Obviously, that's going to use up a lot of resin. So they're both now saved. And if you look at here, scan model, mandibular, scan model, maxillary. So these are the two that we just did. So once again, if you wanted to, you could go right click, open with Meshmixer. Now, as I said, this is a solid model at this point in time. So if you wanted to adjust this, we can start to go, once again, edit, transform, and okay. And let's just go into hollow it out, because we're going to hollow it out now. Put a plane through it so that it's good to go. So that's hollowed out. Let's go to make it to that, update hollow, and accept. So that now is all hollowed out, and we're going to go to plane cut. Bring the plane cut down so that that's all fully hollowed out now. You can, if you wanted to, adjust that plane cut at all if you wanted to, but that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Accept. So now you can export that as a hollowed out model that's obviously a lot easier to print. So export, and we're going to save it to, once again, dental system, print demo, and this is an auxiliary. You want to replace it? Yes. So to give you an idea, now that's how, for yourselves, it's mostly the cheapest workflow for you to go through, so that you can just create solid models. You can hollow them. You can do everything that you need to at this point in time from everything that I just showed you. And we'll go not saving. And now you want to print them out. So the next step is to open up your Asiga software, so which is called Composer. We're going to go new. You'd choose your printer, and you'd choose whatever material you wanted to. So, you know, there's Asiga resins, there's also Nexent resins. You can add in a large array of different resins, but for today, we're just going to do a, we'll just do it in, you know what, we'll do it in Denta model, in Asiga resin. You can adjust your slice thickness here. We'll just leave it at 100 for today and go OK. And once it's at this point, you can start to bring in certain models. So you can drag and drop. So print, hollow, surgical guide, splint, and if we wanted the maxillary, we'll see if we can fit all these four in. So within our 3D printer, we can double click an object, left click, start to move. So depending on position wise on how you're viewing this, you can start to play around, move it around. Once it's in the position that you want and it's within the parameters of the printer, it's going to turn gold. So you can see there that's turned gold. So that's one. We're going to highlight this and we're going to grab it, move it in. Let's change. If you hold down X, you can start to change it around. So now that's now yellow, good to print. Oh, I've taken that outside of the box just. And let's bring that in. Now, once again, if we wanted to start to bring this splint in, I'm going to rotate this around, hit X, and then rotate it this way. I'm going to see if I can squeeze this in between here. Beautiful. And then our last little surgical guide, let's drag that in, rotate this, we'll go that way, X, and let's just spin that around. So all 4 models are now in there ready to be printed. So depending on how many of everything you want it to print, you can now start to generate supports. Now depending on your settings here, will depend on how many supports are created for this particular object. Okay, once you're happy with that, we can just go to close, and then you can start to print. So see this build. Now you can give yourself an indication of how much this is going to cost you, depending on how much you've paid for it. So from here, we can then go to play, demo model. So to print all these 4 objects on here, it's going to take 2 hours, 20 minutes. Next, there is a fast print mode or a slower print mode, so you can save obviously 20 minutes on the fast print mode. Next, and then it's going to obviously build name, and then that's going to get sent to your printer to print. So that, my friends, is essentially all the software and everything that you're going to need for being able to print study models. So that particular software is called Ortho Planner. Splint Studio is this one. This is a free software called Meshmixer, and this one over here is obviously the Implant Studio to be able to do surgical guides. So thanks guys, I hope you got something out of it, and no doubt looking forward to potentially doing a demo for you. Thanks guys, bye.